Welcome, IT changemakers, to the DEX Show with Tim Flower and Tom McGraw. Let's get into it.
Hello, changemakers. It's a solo episode today. Tim is on his way down under, and we were just chatting. But maybe you could, in this day and age, record a podcast on your aeroplane Wi-Fi, but it might not make you especially popular with your neighboring passengers. So we give Tim a pass, and we welcome to the Deck Show today a favorite columnist of ours, or a favorite author of ours lately. Doug Tedder. Doug, welcome to the show. Nice to have you on.
Tom, it's a pleasure. Thanks for asking me to join. I'm looking forward to the conversation.
Yeah, your articles keep resurfacing in our chats, Doug, and we keep saying, this would be a great person to have on. We really enjoy them. Maybe for anybody who doesn't already know them or know you, maybe a quick introduction would be a great place to start.
Oh, sure. Well, so my name's Doug Tedder. I'm the chief cook and bottle washer for my own little consultancy known as the creatively named Tedder Consulting.
Easy to forget, Doug. Easy to forget your own
It
name.
is easy to forget. I had to stay up late one night. When I went out on my own, what am I going to call myself? And so this is what I came up with. Hopefully it works. But what I do is, by trade, I'm a service management consultant. I also help with IT governance and those kind of things. And I've been doing this for quite a while, as you can probably tell from the number of gray hairs in my head. But what my favorite thing to do, and how I like to apply this, is to help good IT organizations become exceptional. That we spend a lot of time in IT, playing with technology and developing code and cranking out things that enable our businesses to achieve their outcomes. And when I'm able to help a client connect the dots in that way and show value, that's really gratifying for me. So, as you mentioned, Tom, I in my spare time, I like to write a few blogs now and again, and I'll speak at conferences, and so I'm really looking forward to our conversation today.
Excellent stuff. And one of the things you've written, I think, very insightfully about, and it's actually a theme which is going to become increasingly dominant in the next month or two here on the Deck Show, or in a couple of months. And more on that and on. That's just a little teaser for the audience. They'll have to guess why that might be. It is about the future and even the, if you will, the end of the service desk in this kind of new era of AI and automation, and productivity as a priority above, technical fixes. And I wonder if you could start, Doug, by giving us your sense of the big picture, the general direction of travel, and what the implications are for EUC at large.
Yeah, and I think this is a good thing. That's how I'm going to start my remarks.
Mm-hmm.
In that this is a good thing, and it at a high level, where I see us going here, especially from an end user computing perspective, is moving beyond just the aspects of installing technology. I mean, it's a thankless job. People don't necessarily recognize all of the thought and work and planning that goes into making that laptop work for folks. But it's more than that. And especially in this day and age, we have to take a more human-centric approach. So that's kind of my overarching view of the world as we get more and more into digitization, and organizations go through whatever they call this week's digital transformation. But it's clear is that technology has got a critical role to play in the success not only of our businesses, but our users, our customers, our employees within the business. So that's where I see it going.
It makes me think, Doug, people often describe this dynamic, and I wonder if you would describe it in this way, that the more technology that enters our roles, the more intrinsic human qualities become important and become dominant in our professional lives. I mean, is that too simplistic, or is there something in that in your opinion?
I think it's spot on. I think we have a tendency in IT, because we're IT, right, to overcomplicate things, right? Because technology isn't simple. We make it look simple, but we have a tendency to to overcomplicate things. But at the end of the day, And I've written around this very topic a couple of times. The more technically advanced that we become, the more human we need to be. I see that coming with AI. I see that coming with digital experience. I see that in all aspects of the
Mm.
things that we do from a technology perspective. So that keeping it human is going to be that differentiating. Let's try that one again. Keeping that human is going to be the differentiating concept or factor that
Mm.
separates these great organizations from the middle of the road organizations.
Yeah, you put that a lot better than me. The more technical we become, the more human we need to be. That's a much more succinct expression of that same idea. And another concept come across in your work is an acronym. I won't attempt to pronounce it. I might say something strange, but it's VUCA, and it's volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity. VUCA, I guess.
VUCA. That's how I
VUCA. That sounds okay.
pronounced
It
it.
wasn't so bad once I said it. What's the relevance of the concept of the evolution of frontline IT, and how can employers help employees, I guess, navigate a good route through this very changeable career terrain?
Yeah, and first of all, I want to be clear. I didn't invent the concept of VUCA, but
Sure.
it is true. The environments that we are working in, the environments that we are living in, continue to become more and more volatile, continue to become more and more complex. It's very ambiguous, and no one more than the end user computing teams, right? The
Mm,
frontline folks within the organizations are seeing this. Technology is constantly evolving, business requirements rapidly evolving and changing because of the ever shifting dynamics that our businesses are working in. Technology is having a significant impact. There's the understatement of the year and how
mm,
our businesses are doing businesses. And there's a lot of, to use the old phrase, the buzzword, there's a lot of fear of missing out. There's such a rush to take advantage of emerging technologies that may not be quite ready for prime time. And our frontline folks from an IT perspective are dealing with this. And not only is it difficult for us from a frontline perspective to keep up with what's happening in the world and keep happening with the ever shifting dynamics, but just imagine what those users of that computing technology are dealing with. And as a result, they have become, if you much more technically savvy. The end user that we're working with today is greatly evolved from the end user that maybe we were working with maybe 5 or 10 years ago. Lots of reasons for that, but they've become much more technology savvy, and they
mm.
recognize when they have experiences with us as the employing company that aren't up to par with what they experience as a consumer of technology with other organizations. So this is the world in which we're living in, and not only do we have to recognize what technologies impact is on our organization, but also the technologies that our users, I hate the word user, let's use consumer, they're dealing with. And so this is constantly volatile, constant complexity that our end users or I'm sorry, our frontline folks are dealing with.
And let's talk about data and how it fits into this overall picture. You've written about how mining data from the service desk you've highlighted it as a crucial strategy for understanding and improving employee experience. I think you have some familiarity with what NextThink does. Related to that, what are some practical steps or tools you might recommend for the digital workplace teams looking to leverage this kind of data and be more proactive through that usage?
Yeah. This is the thing that quite frankly kind of frustrates me just a little bit with some organizations, in that the service desk, help desk, whatever that organization is being referred to as within a company, they're sitting on a gold mine of data, right? No one else, no other organization within a company has the finger on the pulse of what's going on with the consumer of technology that we're providing. And so we're capturing every interaction, whether it's an incident or a request or a complaint, or how do I do something, and that data is being captured. And other than the particular transaction with that consumer, we don't do much with it. And I think that's a huge opportunity for many organizations. We by looking at that data, we can start to see trends. We can start to understand where there are friction points. Where in the digital experience, like next thing focuses on, where in the digital experiences are we having friction? How is it that the things that we're providing from a technology perspective is being not only used but being perceived, and those kinds of questions can be answered by the data that we're capturing at that service desk. And so, like I said, it's a huge gold mine, and the possibilities, the things that we could do with that data are just mind-boggling, and can be a big radical shift for many organizations, radical shift to the good. Makes us much more valuable to that organization, makes us much more valuable to the consumer.
And with this sort of the increase in expectations around service desk presently, expected to handle sort of IT and non-IT issues in many instances, what can organizations be doing to ensure those professionals in the service desk are adequately trained, also supported in managing these increased expectations, and also prepared for a fast evolving career path in terms of the technology that's coming in and impacting it?
Some things in that regard, some things don't change. We know we have to keep abreast of evolution in technology and features and functions and what it might do for us. But I think the thing that changes a little bit, or the slight nuance here that maybe some frontline support folks don't think of, is then what does it mean to my organization? How can my organization take advantage of that evolving technology? Is it ready? Right? Is the technology mature enough to actually run our business with? Are we ready? So we have to continue to invest in ourselves from an education perspective, but then that's all well and good, and that's typically what many of our frontline folks are doing anyway, right? They're trying to understand it, but then take it to the next step and start asking the question behind the question. If we were to use this, what other things could be possible? Start thinking. I call it systems thinking or outcome-based thinking. Start thinking in those terms, and know how what we do impacts the business of the business. That's the North Star, in my opinion. It's how what do we do with these things? So these are some things that I think we could do, and then there's some other things, like I said earlier. Some things don't change. We've got that data. My gosh, analyze that data. Look for opportunities. I mean, the old tried and true things like doing trend analysis and watching trends in the interactions that we're having with our consumers. An oldie but goodie, a Pareto analysis, right? Right. It's the 80% of issues are caused by 20% of the causes, right? Well, what would happen if we as digital professionals would put out those things that cause those 80% and then go to the next step beyond, and what else is happening because of that? What a game changer for organizations, and the end user computing teams and the frontline teams are could be right at the forefront of that.
And I do like that you pick. A lot of scrutiny is placed on the service desk and its changeable future, but you don't put all of your attention onto that. What other frontline IT teams do you expect are going to see significant change in the coming years?
Yeah, I see it, more pervasively in that, the frontline folks are desktop support people, end user compute people, service desk, obviously are going to be impacted first. But I see it more pervasive than that, and I think it really is a imagining of what the role of technology is within an organization. So it's going to happen across all of whatever we call IT today. IT continues to be, with many organizations, a back office function, and that is the biggest shift. We've got to move into if we can't get to the front office, we've got to be in the mid office at least. And this is a big culture shift, not only for IT, but the organizations in which we serve, because technology and business process are so intertwined now. I don't know where the dividing line is, and I have seen this and talked about it for a few years now, and it's just becoming more and more intertwined. There is no difference between technology and business process. One cannot exist without the other, and I think that's the biggest shift from an IT and a business perspective. We got to have both, and they've got to be coming along at the same time.
What opportunities do you think that change presents potentially to the careers of young people, say, today in IT? How should they be looking to the future, and what should they be anticipating?
Yeah, it's not enough, to answer the career question. It's not enough to know technology.
Hmm.
It has to be. We have to grow our business acumen. We have to understand how technology contributes to business results, mission, vision, goals. The basic blueprints of every organization. And that's the thing. It's how can technology, because we have to live in a world of possibility, and how can technology help an organization achieve its goals and objectives, fulfill its mission and those kind of things. So it's an always be learning kind of mindset. It's an always be practice that critical thinking. That's my experience. That's becoming more and more unique or rare.
Hmm.
There's a lot of and maybe we're a victim of our own success in this regard, in that we just think we're going to plug something into the wall and click a couple buttons and then boom, we're there. You know, no, that's it. There's a lot of work that goes behind that, and we have to think critically about those things. So these are some of the things that I would advise folks that are either new into the organization or new into the industry, rather, and go and beyond. I mean, folks like me, kind of more seasoned in the career. One of the things I challenge myself to do is continue to learn and push my knowledge and my understanding. There's a lot that we can derive from history. I've learned a few things along the way, but that doesn't mean I know everything. And so that's the mindset that I try to have is I continue to working within my career.
Doug, as you might imagine, we have a lot of guests coming on at the moment talking about AI, and part of me feels like, okay, here comes the AI question. But I tell you something, every single week or every other week, we speak to people who bring fascinating use cases about AI, the illustrations of what it can do, not just within IT, but for employees, for managers, for leaders. We're building up quite an incredible repository of currently available functions, the ways that AI is changing how we work. And I actually look forward to this part of the conversation, as established as it's inevitably become. So the question for you, Doug, in what ways can AI be leveraged here to improve user satisfaction, interaction with service management processes, and then how do you think organizations should be measuring the success?
I think that's a great question. And Tom, to the point, there's a lot of hype here.
Yeah.
And everybody has an AI capability now, right?
Yeah.
My question back, do you really? And
Hmm.
but the thing that I see, the potential that is coming with AI, and in some cases we're getting there faster than others.
Hmm.
Some organizations are getting there quite quicker than others. But the thing that I see that AI opens up for us is the ability to take a more holistic view of our data to drive the right decision. And I'll give you a great example. And I'll put on my service management hat for just a second. We make a lot of decisions based upon the immediate data that we have in our scope. We'll look at one or two records, or maybe a couple of change records or incident records or that kind of thing, and we make a decision based on a very limited amount of data. And sometimes we're wrong. In fact, more often than not, we're wrong. This is what AI can do to it for us. The machine learning aspects of it, the ability to create language models that helps us ask the right questions and get the right answers. This is an area that of huge growth for IT organizations, and how we can leverage AI to make better decisions, to make more data-driven decisions. So many decisions now, like I said, are based on a limited amount of information, my gut feeling, and my history with this kind of stuff. All good factors, but we're going to introduce a whole nother level of factor. If we're looking at the entirety of data and we've got the right language models in place, and we're doing the right kind of mining of that data, just imagine the possibilities. I'm getting a little excited about that, because I think that is one of the big things that are coming, big benefits that are coming to us from the use of AI.
And I guess one of the things we've kind of been talking about or around today is proactivity, right? And where do you see the kind of the dovetailing of AI and proactivity, and what does this point to together for the future of IT?
Yeah, I think that's a great question, Tom. And we've got all this data and we don't do much with it. And just imagine where we become, right? Well, let me step back. Most IT organizations, especially from an end user support perspective, are very reactive. We wait for something to happen. Think about what's possible, and we're bringing in data from multiple sources, not just the user interaction, which will continue to be important, but as we start to roll this stuff out, we can anticipate patterns of things that are happening, and how do we want to react to that and become much more proactive. We've long dreamed about doing this proactive kind of remediation of issues before they even become a challenge. That's now possible. And it's not just science fiction or something that's going to be 3 or 4 years from now. So that's one of the exciting aspects of AI adoption in my view. And it allows a big shift in the way that organizations use technology. Organizations spend a lot of money today, and this is where I get executives' attention, right, around this stuff. We spend a lot of money today reacting to issues in our technology environment. Wouldn't it? Here's the possibility: we can shift that spend to more proactive and innovative kinds of things, because we've minimize the impact of support issues, and we've minimized. So it's like, it doesn't say it's going to go away, but we've minimized it. And I call it get rid of the silly stuff. So, the silly things that we should know already how to do, and be able to anticipate by having all of that data and being able to make sense of it in a very quick way. To me, it's a very exciting opportunity for IT and organizations at large.
Excellent. And as I say, there've been 2 or 3 or 4 of your pieces have been passed around the chat here at the DEX show. So we're going to include some of those in the show notes so that people can read them also. But anything you want the people to know, Doug, about where they can reach you, find your work, or get in contact?
I appreciate that, Tom. Like I said, I have my very creatively named company, Tedder Consulting. So you can find me.
We remember it now.
Yeah. You can find me at tedder-consulting.com or dougtedder.com. So that's my website, and I'm on LinkedIn. So, welcome engaging in conversations there as well. So
wonderful. Thanks so much for coming on, Doug. We enjoy your pieces, and it was lovely chatting to you.
Tom, it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much.
To make sure that you never miss an episode, subscribe to the show in Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or your favorite podcast player. And if you're listening on Apple Podcasts, make sure to leave a rating of the show. Just tap the number of stars you think the podcast deserves. If you'd like to learn more about how NextThink can help you improve your digital employee experience, head over to nextthink.com. Thank you so much for listening. Until next time.